Say It Loud Network and Mino Lion Media presents Business First.
Hi, all, and welcome to a new episode of Business First with Sonia. I am your host, and this is a podcast where we hope to help businesses think bigger, work better, and be fearless enough to be bolder. And so today we are going to focus on a wellness business. You know, there's been a lot of conversation about businesses that have closed, that are struggling, that have folded because of this pandemic that we're in. But there are businesses that have been doing well, and wellness and coaching are among them. And so we have a great guest with us today to talk about how she's managing growth in her business and how she's diversified her business and her background. But I want to tell you a little bit about her before we get started. She is an integrative wellness coach, a corporate consultant, and a best-selling and award-winning author. Calls her publications empowerment books that deal with being a single mom, managing blended families, and recovering from divorce. She has also written books for children to help them better deal with social issues. Aria Craig has a bachelor's in technical management, a master's in business administration, board certification in mental health, and is currently completing her second master's, this one in dispute resolution. Her business focuses on personal wellness, professional wellness, and corporate wellness. Aria Craig, welcome to our broadcast. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. I'm well. How are you?
Good. And I can say that honestly, right? I mean, we're in a time where you ask people how they were doing and you really weren't sure what the answer was going to be. But I can honestly say that I'm actually feeling good. We're in a new year. And so hopefully, even though it's still a little sketchy here, you know, we're hoping that we're going to be able to see a lot better results this year. And so you are in the business of helping people manage all of that, which has been a growth industry for a lot of people, the wellness industry. But that is, I'm sure, were you prepared for what your business had to deal with this year? Or I should say in this pandemic?
Yeah, actually, it was birthed from what has transpired with the pandemic, with people losing their jobs, with people having a lot of stress, concerns with what's going on in their field, in their careers, what's going on in the world. So it was kind of birthed from that. So yeah, it's been an opportunity actually.
And that's good for people, like I said, who are in the wellness business or in the coaching business. So your focus is personal wellness, professional wellness, and corporate wellness. And in this environment, you know, that's a lot. Everybody is struggling. So corporations have been dealing with it because of the economic impact and how buying trends have changed for their businesses, but also because of the social unrest. So they've been trying to deal with diversity issues. They've hired a number of I know a number of professionals who are doing a lot of diversity coaching. They've hired a lot of new D&I professionals to come in and help with these organizations. And so you're managing all of that. You're managing the corporate side and the professional side. And so how have you been able to, as a sole proprietor, how are you able to manage the demand during this time?
I have boundaries also that I have set between my career, which is my business, as well as my personal life. But I welcome, like even with this podcast, any opportunity that I can to speak on the business and to be a support for people who are struggling, more so with work-related stress, anxiety, and depression. For me, it's basically making a plan and scheduling and keeping to those plans and those schedules.
What would you say surprised you during this time? I mean, how long have you had your business?
Well, I've had the business as an author for several years now. This piece was just launched in January. Because I had to go through the training and go through the board certification. So that took a little bit of a while. And I completed that around November, December of last year and launched this business, getting everything ready for the back end piece in January. But the experience, everything that came with having launched this business, I've had that for years.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background.
I have a little bit more than 20 years experience in finance and project management, and just added the healthcare, the mental wellness piece to it. And also now going to school for dispute resolution, which is actually going to be a very strong component to the consulting services that I provide for organizations. But I've had the process improvement, the project managing, the mentorship, all of that's been in place for over 20 years. And then by me being an author, since and released my first book in 2015, which actually became an Amazon bestseller in 5 categories. All of that has just helped me to cultivate what I am now and the services that I provide.
I'm always interested in how people have their backgrounds have contributed to where they are. Did you know when you were developing your business strategies, or as you were moving through professionally, did you know that this was the area that you would gravitate to? Did you know that you would eventually be a wellness coach?
No. As a matter of fact, I didn't. That part came last year. Everything else kind of just tied into it. So my entire background before last year was in finance, process improvement, and project management. I have a bachelor's in technical management. So included with the experience that I had in finance, I worked for a healthcare organization, and that kind of married my education and my experience. So what I did was I managed corporate mandated projects, and I was like the liaison, the SME, which is a subject matter expert for people, for the departments in finance and also for our counterparts in IT. So I would relay any business information or any business needs to our IT counterparts, who would go in and make the designs and make sure that everything that we did was in compliance. Our financial statements were great. Our sub ledgers were great. When we processed anything from a finance perspective, everything was in balance. So that was kind of where that piece comes in. But when I had a few situations between that job and then the last one that really rocked or kind of had some impact on my mental wellness. And that's when I made the decision to go into that particular field.
Okay, tell us a little bit about that. You don't have to mention any names, but tell us a little bit about, what you experienced, because I know there are folks in our audience who have probably experienced a lot of the same.
So I had 3 situations. Can I just briefly talk about them? Because they
absolutely, please.
So the first experience that I had, my son was very young, and that was more so in the corporate area. I dealt with some racial issues, some systemic racial issues. That I didn't even realize I was going through depression. My mom had to pull me over to the side around Thanksgiving, and she told me, "You don't look well," because my hair was dull and was breaking off. I had lost some weight. My skin was kind of, dry, and I just wasn't really motivated. So I didn't even realize that I was going through depression because, in the Black community, we don't really talk about that. We don't talk about depression. We might say we're stressed out, and then we'll go back into the same environment. So that was the first situation. Going into the second one was working at that same healthcare organization that I mentioned before. That was a bit of a tough one because that one didn't really I didn't encounter any racial issues. That was more or less an issue with my growth and my potential being stifled, because I worked for a manager who was a Black woman, and I admired her and her talent and her skills and her growth because she was so educated, and she's very intelligent, and she was very well with being strategic. Working with her was great at first, but then there was a period of time where, because I was being promoted to certain levels, she was feeling threatened. So I think that she felt that eventually I would either get promoted to her level or get promoted over her, because those type of organizations, they promote you very fast. And if they see potential, they're going to promote you as soon as there's an opportunity, once they develop a position or they promote you into a position. So it's, as us being Black women or even Black men, it's not a lot of us in those type of higher leadership positions like CEOs and those type of positions that are really well up the corporate ladder. So when we feel like there's somebody who has the same potential that was beneath us, there is a possibility that we could feel threatened and we get scared. And that's exactly what she did. So she stifled any progress that I had from that point forward. And I went through a series of health issues, and didn't really realize what was going on. So that's the first time that I actually entered into an IOP program. And IOP is intensive outpatient treatment. So that was a mental health program. And I did that for about 6 months, then came back and thought I was all good and cured, quote unquote, only for it to happen to me again at another job. So they let me go from that job. When you have those types of issues, they don't want any trouble. So they just kind of like put you off to the side and let me go. So then it took me several years before I got another one. When I had another opportunity, I had somewhat a different experience and had to go back into the IOP program. My manager, the last time, she was white. And so I endured a lot of struggle with racism and bullying, because she was very, very, I had a hard time with her. Just the way she communicated was just really off base. And then trying to communicate that to HR to let them know, listen, there's an issue here. And this has been going on before I even started working here, and no one did anything about it. So I went into the IOP program again, and this is me still telling myself, I'm okay. I'm in the hospital. And the nurse is like, no, I don't think you realize how serious your situation is. Your body is in flight or fight mode. So we need to get you admitted right away into the program. When COVID happened in March of last year, I was let go due to COVID. Well, not really due to COVID, but that was their business justification. And that's when I said, you know what, something's got to give. Like, I've gone through this already several times, been in an IOP program twice. And just because of work-related stress, anxiety, and depression, it was never my performance. It was always having to work with people who I felt were not competent in their roles to lead.
So, what's interesting is I always say I've had this conversation with friends and particularly people who run businesses. Many of us did not leave corporate America because we wanted to start a job. We left because we wanted to start a business. We left because we felt we had to. We either felt because of the stress levels or because of the pressures on the job that, if you felt that you were talented and you had the skills, it's like, well, why am I putting up with this? I'm going to leave. But I always think about the people who either are just not encouraged to start their own businesses or not encouraged to leave the job. What happens to those folks? Like, what happens to people who have to stay behind and either go to another job or deal with another supervisor and have to manage that all over again? Because I'm imagining those are some of your clients.
Yes, and this is the thing. One of the points that I drove home in a presentation that I did maybe about 2 weeks ago. You're going to repeat the same process if you don't figure out how to manage it or get a hold of it. If you don't feel that you've gotten the proper relief or healing from it, it's going to happen again. So now you're going to be tested again with the same type of conditions or health issues, and they may even get worse at some point. So the thing is that you really have to figure out what is relief or healing for you. I'm just going to take I don't want to use somebody else's example. I'm just going to use my own. The bullying issue that I had with my last manager. I went through that when I was younger. One of my children's books is about bullying. Very sensitive to being bullied or what bullying looks like even as an adult, even in corporate America. Because that was traumatic for me. Now I am experiencing the trauma all over again, this time as an adult. And you don't think that you would experience it, but it's going to happen. It's going to show up in one form or another. So for me, I had to figure out, okay, now I'm going through this again. It's nothing that I could change about her being my manager. So I have to make some changes within myself. For me, with a lot of women, especially women of color, we've gone through this, and I've actually talked to somebody that says that, my situation was not unique. This happens to women of color all the time. And we feel to stay because we have to pay bills. We have a family that we have to take care of. And a lot of us are in one parent households. So it's like, how do you figure out how to get past this? And then you're in a period of time where the job market is very slim because of the pandemic. And if they're hiring minorities, a lot of times they're not African Americans. They are another minority. So it's like, how do you get past that? When you are going through a lot of stress and anxiety, you can do a number of things that don't require medication. That's the integrated approach. is the exercising is very important. You can exercise maybe something very moderate, even if it's going outside to take a walk. I'm in Chicago, so the snow is melting. It's 40 degrees outside. You can go and take a walk somewhere, go to a park, and just to release some stress, get some vitamin D in, which helps with your anxiety and your stress levels as well. And depression is very good with helping with depression from an integrated perspective. Like I said, exercising and maybe some supplements. Different types of supplements help with different types of with anxiety and with depression. There's methods that you can use, like candles with certain essential oils. Like eucalyptus or spearmint, things of that sort. So there are things that you can do, as well as meditation, that can help you in the morning and in the evening before you go to bed and when you start your day in the morning, that can help you to really focus on getting through your day and mindfulness.
If you would explain what integrative wellness looks like, it really is about incorporating every aspect of your life, right? Your health, your mental health, your physical health, and your emotional health. Is that correct?
That's correct. And everything is tied together. Like one piece affects the other. You have your mental health, your physical health, and also your spiritual health. Everything works as your whole being. But then you're also, from an integrated perspective, it's more holistic. You're not using medication. You're using other natural remedies to be able to find healing and relief.
Right. Do you find that people are surprised that it's all connected? That they feel like, what I'm dealing with at work is what I'm dealing with at work, and what I'm dealing with at home is what I'm dealing with at home. Do you find that people are compartmentalizing their lives and not really realizing how connected all of these things are?
I'm realizing the second piece. Now they will see, they do realize that there is a connection between work and home, because they can tell when they're logged off and they're stressed out, they're aggravated, their mood shifts. They have to fix, if you're working from home, you got to fix, dinner or whatever, and you're just not in the mood to interact with anyone. They can tell that they're a little bit stressed out, especially if it was something that caused the stress right before they ended their workday. I don't think they realize, though, what I've come across is the level that it has impacted. Like, now it's throwing off your sleep patterns. You throw off your sleep patterns, now it's throwing off some certain issues, throwing off certain chemical balances with your health. So that's when they really don't understand, so because now I'm having insomnia, now I'm having all of these issues with my hormones. Like, they don't really get how it's impacting them full circle.
Well, you brought up something that was really interesting early on, the difference between knowing that you're stressed out and that you might actually be depressed. Like, what are some of the signs that people might, what are some signals, some signs that I might know? Because stress is how we live today. And so how do we know that, okay, I just need to do this to manage stress better? Or, I might really just be depressed and get a different type of help or a different level of help.
So if you're stressed out, and there's some overlap. So if you're stressed out, it's almost like it's momentarily. You just, you need a cup of tea, or you just do something to find relief. Some people, nowadays they drink a glass of wine before they go to bed, and then the next morning, they try to go to bed and get some sleep, and the next morning they have their energy. When you're depressed, it's just a whole different mood, a whole different energy. Like, your energy levels basically are not even there. You're having a hard time being motivated. It's also about whether or not you have hope. You feel like a sense of hopelessness about your situation. So it's impacting you. Like, there's a chemical imbalance going on when you have depression. And that's when you need to move forward to seek some type of mental health professional to help you to get back on track. Because there's something going on there, even if you haven't identified it, but you realize this is gone beyond stress. Now it's like impacting my entire life. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to be sociable. I don't even want to eat sometimes. I'm having a hard time. Like, I'm sleeping throughout the day. It's just, it impacts you in different ways.
You were one of the people who, were able to leave your job and start a business. What was the process, or what was the thought process going on for you when you said, you know what, I don't want to go into another IOP program. I don't want to deal with this again. What was that full process for you saying, you know what, I could do this and help people that are actually going through exactly what I'm going through now? Actually,
that's exactly what happened. I was laying down in bed, and I was very, I was at like a crossroads. Like I'm trying to figure out, okay, now what do I do? And it's like, it came to me, like what I was already doing with my books was serving and helping a certain demographic, which was for moms, single, divorced, and blended moms. Now it's like, okay, what can I do from what I've already experienced? And after talking to the one person I told you about, when she says that this happens to a lot of Black women, it was like an aha moment to figure out, okay, what can I do? And at this point, you know, I was a bit upset that I had to go back into the IOP program a second time. And I was frustrated and upset with the way that the organization treated me, how they treated me after that. At this point, I had to figure out, okay, I'm not going to be bitter, because at the end of the day, they've already hired somebody else possibly in this position, or maybe not because of COVID and everybody was going through their budget issues with their organizations. But maybe it was more or less these people, this person and people who I had this negative interaction with have moved forward in their jobs. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out what to do. At that point, it was like, okay, if you've already gone through this experience twice, your friend has told you that this is common, maybe you need to figure out a way to bridge the gap. And that's what I did. And I found the program to help me with, to become an integrative mental health coach. And then I became sort of board certified. With that process, I went through a lot of healing for myself and relief for myself. So that way, it first started off with just helping people who were working and having these work-related issues. Then it migrated to, okay, I can now be a service to organizations and turn this into an opportunity to help them to figure out why they are having these issues with their employees being so stressed out. They're taking off of work. There's absenteeism. Their insurance claims are high because they're taking off for short-term disability due to mental stress, and they are filing grievances. You know, they're filing EEOC employee claims because they're experiencing harassment or retaliation as a result of them going on leave. You know, so how do we be proactive? How can I work with these organizations and use this opportunity as an opportunity to help them so that they can keep their top talent and keep their employees healthy and improve their wellness culture?
You know, it's what I always find interesting about the entrepreneur's journey is that it is filled with sometimes discontent, discomfort, struggle, and problems that have really just served to make you a better business person when you start your business. So all of the things that were either blocking you or hurting you or holding you back are all the things now that have benefited you in terms of how you help other people.
Yes, I feel like I found purpose.
Let's talk a little bit about your books, because you had started writing your books before you started this other part of your business, the wellness part of your business. And you were inspired by personal challenges as well. Is that the right word to say, that you had certain challenges that you were dealing with in your own life and it inspired you to write these books?
Yes.
What was the first one?
So for the first one, that was the Single Mother Diaries, Volume 1, Tips and Wisdom on Being a Fabulous and Successful Single Mother. That actually came from a lot of throughout my son will be 22 this year. So when he was younger, I always got compliments on his behavior and his character. And it just inspired me. One day I was in church service and one of the brethren said, you really should help single moms, because you have what it takes to help a lot of these single moms who are struggling and trying to figure things out. And that's when the book came out. I thought that was a great way to introduce the book and take my time with writing certain things that I knew that were important for single moms, such as like child support and visitation. Those are very important when you're a single mom and you're raising your children and you're trying to figure out also how to co-parent with the other child with the other parent, if that other parent is going to be actively involved. So that's actually another topic in there too, is co-parenting.
And what was the second book?
The second one is still the same series, the Single Mother Diary series. The second one is on being business savvy. So that one is more focused on women who are, or mothers who are co-parents, single parents, and divorced parents. They've had issues with, they have all the talent and they have the education and the skills. And they have what it takes to be promoted, but for some reason they're not being seen. They're not visible for promotion. And sometimes it could be because they could be getting held back, not even realizing that, you might have a manager that might not feel that they can handle the demands of the job. Because if they have to go home and pick up their children or, get them involved in activities, they have, basketball practice or, whatever type of practice after that, they have to be home by a certain time to keep on the schedule. So the manager might not see them as having the bandwidth to handle a demanding promotion. But they do have it because they are exactly in their personal lives. They're managing all of these things at home. And now hopefully with organizations realizing that you can still function with your employees working from home, if that is a position that is able to function that way or operate that way, you can get a lot out of a person, a single mom or a divorced mom, who can handle a management position, a supervisor management or director position, and should not be held back just because they have children and they're handling their household by themselves.
You also wrote books for children as well. You've written some children's books?
I have.
What's the name? How many have you written? You have 5 overall, right? It's 5 total in your book?
And one of them includes an activity book to go along with, to accompany the first children's book, which is Bubbles the Beautiful Butterfly and the Bully That Chloe Conquers. That's the first one. And the second one is Love is Here, Love is There, My Co-Parents.
Do you also work with women who are interested in transitioning out of the workforce and starting their own businesses?
I have not worked with them outside of, people who are trying to figure out if they are having some issues at work and they really want to, transition those talents from what they have at work into their own business. But just by themselves, I'm not working for an organization right now. I'm just trying to figure things out and start my own business. I would love to work with that market. I have not yet, but I would love to work with that market because I do believe that I have a lot of insight and can be able to help them to understand their talents and their purpose and find fulfillment.
I'd love for us to talk about some of that insight. What was the biggest surprise for you in starting and managing your own business? What was the biggest hurdle for you to overcome?
For the author piece, it was, everybody's like writing books nowadays. So it's more because I was working in a corporate background. So I didn't have the knowledge to go and engage in groups and go to conferences and, become just network and build relationships. I just thought that once I wrote the book, put it on social media a few times, people would buy it. That did not happen. It did not happen that way. So that was the biggest hurdle is I didn't have a mentor to tell me, okay, this is what you need to do and be setting this up in the meantime. While you're writing this book, set this piece up and organize with this piece and network with that piece. I didn't have that. So I had to figure everything out on my own. And also I have a few friends who have written books who have called me for advice. I started my own publishing company. So that way I can expense everything on my taxes and everything like that. I can just kind of go through that process and I can have full control over my voice. And those people were kind of contracting with other, smaller publishing companies that just got started. And they would call me and say, well, is this the right amount that I'm supposed to pay for this? Is this the right price? How do you do your copywriting and everything? So I put together an entire e-course on writing books.
Well, because I was just going to ask, so for someone who had no background, no mentor, no experience, your books were award-winning. So what is it that you did, or what did you figure out that helped you move the needle for your books?
I started networking. I networked. I went to different book conferences I traveled a few times across the country and did some vending at different events. But the networking and going to different local events and really getting to know other authors and then they will tell you about other groups or whatever to be involved in. So that really became a focal point for me to get more involved. But I had to start at that point, like, okay, what do I do? And that's when it happened. Things start to come together for me.
Well, I'm glad, you talked about networking because that's really important. And a lot of time entrepreneurs feel like they can do it on their own and you really can't.
Right. That's right. You need a team.
And so networking has really helped you, it seems like.
It has. And for me, it's not just the networking piece, is building relationships. So
Right.
that way I can go back and we can converse later on about something that transpired, or be able to provide a resource for somebody later on. We can also support another author or whoever in the industry so that they can be, you want everybody to win.
So you've set up so that's another arm of your business, which I didn't realize. So now you have a publishing arm as well. Are you taking other authors?
No, I just publish my own books.
Okay. So that was just that was a business decision of this is a way I can write off more taxes and have complete control over my voice.
Yes, that's correct. I had someone that asked me, I had a few people actually that asked me if I do that, if I take on other authors and help them to publish their books. But I think that trying to find the right people in place, like your editor, copywriter, that's a little bit of a challenge. And I didn't want to take that on. So what I did was, I just created the e-course to help people to find those sources so that they can go ahead and publish the books themselves.
So, which is another revenue stream, right? So you are really good at figuring out what needs to be done and then actually creating an opportunity to bring in more revenue, which is really, is that how you just naturally think? And I think that's important to share with people in our audience too, because sometimes when you're getting started, the business that you have set up it may not be the part of the business that's really going to drive your money. And sometimes it's these offshoots or these connections to your business that could actually support you while you're developing other pieces of it.
That's right. Yep, that's true.
And so you have been able to do that, which is great.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
So, but it also requires, management. So you're managing a lot of those pieces. What type of support have you enlisted so that you are doing everything correctly?
Well, I have a couple of people that do that I contract to do certain pieces for me. Like one person, she's going to be starting in March to help me with my social media posting. You interview that person to make sure they understand what the scope of your business is and to make sure that they are a good fit. Then I have someone else that hopefully she'll be helping with the ads part, but I have someone else that's going to be my mentor. So, being an influencer, and I have my calls with Kamika. She's my coach, my business coach for the 2020 influencer program. 2021 influencer program. So she's been incredibly helpful too with helping me to find to improve and to scale my business.
Yeah, Kamika Smith is incredible. She was one of our early guests on the show. Talk a little bit about the Mind Over Matter project.
So the Mind Over Matters is the piece that we were talking about earlier. With one piece is for individuals, mainly for people who have work-related stress, anxiety, and depression as a result of some type of work-related event that happened on their job or that continues to happen on their job. And they just want to find healing and relief through integrative measures to just kind of get through the anxiety and the depression. The second part is the consulting piece that's in place for the organizations to hire me to come in to maybe do some speaking about stressful events and more so from keeping their top talent perspective, like working well with teams, communication, leadership versus management, things of that sort. And also with identifying one of the packages that they may want to help me to do some consulting for their business. If they have a department that's really struggling, they have high turnover, they want me to come on to help them to figure out what is going on, what do we need to do to improve. And it will be all from, their employees having stress in the workplace and they don't know how to fix it. They don't know how to identify it or fix it. Or maybe they do know how to identify it, they just don't know how to fix it.
I like that you named it Mind Over Matter, because I mean, professionally, spiritually, emotionally, that it's mindset is everything. And so when you created the name for this, what message were you hoping to deliver?
I wanted to, and I actually asked my son, I went through like a list and I asked him, which one resonates with you more? And he said Mind Over Matters. And it's funny because matters is more so because I have so much background in the legal industry So you have client matters. So that's where the term matters came from, but it just kind of went well with the holistic mental healing approach. With, like you said, it's just more so you're taking the time to realize that whatever the mental health issue that you're going through, that you're trying to overcome it. And it's psychological, but every component is integrated with the other component, with the physical part and also the spiritual part.
Are you thinking about onboarding more people, bringing more folks on? I mean, you talked about getting a mentor and someone who's going to help you with your social media. And I believe those are, well, not the mentor, but the other ones are going to be contracted positions. Do you feel that you are at a point where you want to onboard people to come on as staff? Eventually.
When I start the mediation piece, definitely, because I have an initiative, like an entire big picture project in my mind that within, I would say by the middle of next year, I want to create an agency, some type of agency to where I am hiring people of color to come in and do mediation and arbitration if they have the experience and the education, to go into corporations and really help. And a lot of these corporations, what I'm seeing, just from the training and the education and having sat in discussions when you have people who are doing arbitration and mediation for years, a lot of them revolve around civil rights. Something is going on with the civil rights being violated. So I would love to develop an organization or some type of agency for that piece, the mediation piece, to where we can go in and we can help organizations with whatever it is that they are experiencing in the workplace with aggrieved employees.
What do you feel you still struggle with as an entrepreneur?
Trying to juggle it. So I have my good days to where, because I have days set aside for one piece and a segment set aside for the other piece. Like the other day, a couple of days ago, for the first time this year, I actually worked on chapter 4 of my next book. So that was supposed to have been completed by last year. That was a goal, but that didn't happen. So it's mainly trying to make sure I stay committed to the schedule that I have, because things are going to come up. You know, you're going to have people that are going to need your attention, or you need to take care of some type of event or activity. So that happens, but I need to stay committed. So I think that eventually, hopefully, I will have an assistant by the fall, and have all this new business in place to help me to support my business structure.
Is there are there any processes? Because I know my big issue is I keep everything in my head. And so I have friends and mentors who have sent me tools or recommended tools. But is there, and you have a lot that's going on, or is there anything that you use, or a process or a method? You mentioned that you have different days. Like, do you schedule out each day and say, this is the day that I'm going to work on this aspect of the business, and tomorrow I'm going to do X, Y, and Z? Are there any technology tools that you use?
Well, my phone is my best friend, so I schedule everything out almost a month in advance. Then for my business, if you go to ariacraig.com and you book an appointment to speak with me, I have a CRM tool that's integrated into that scheduling mechanism. So that helps to keep that. Anytime I have someone that schedules an appointment, it kind of integrates into my calendar on my phone. So that's a helpful piece. That's not manual, that I can rely on. But yeah, that's pretty much it. My phone. I have tabs all over the place. I have a huge calendar on my wall for if I know that I want to post something that's important for that particular month. So calendars are just my friend.
Okay. What reflective processes do you have? Like, what do you do to say, you know what, that was good, that was great, I should continue doing that, or, you know what, I could have done that so differently?
I am very hard on myself. My son tells me that all the time. I just got to a point to where I started celebrating wins. Whenever I did something well, and just take the moment to appreciate that. Like, I went to go get some champagne, and I poured a glass of champagne just to celebrate the fact that I finished chapter 4, because chapter 4 of that book is very emotional. It's a very emotional piece. So, but I am learning to do it because I can't tell other people to do it and I'm not doing it myself.
Well, I was going to say, so what motivates, because that's usually the case, right? So anyone, our coaches need coaches. And, you know, it's easy to tell people what to do, right? What was it? Was there something that happened or something that you noticed, or was there an aha moment that made you say, you know what, I need to stop beating myself up?
I don't think it was a moment. I like a lot of, like inspirational and motivational posts that I see on Mondays on like Instagram, because a lot of times on Mondays you see a lot of people, because it's like motivational Monday.
Motivational Monday, yeah.
They post a lot of really inspiring posts, and some of them do resonate with me. And I think at that moment, I would say about a couple of weeks ago is when I realized I'm not really celebrating things. So that was just more so that, along with me saying, I got to stop and appreciate the fact that I completed this component, then move on to the next. And I actually started getting more sleep. So I'm happy about that. The sleep is very important to your body.
Yeah. People don't realize how important sleep is and how important it is to step away sometimes from the work. And I, you know, when you run your own business, you know, how often do we hear people say, you know, it's a 24/7 business? But it's really important that you get a chance to step away.
For me, what I do is I ask myself, does this need to be done right now? Because if it's not going to be seen or till tomorrow or whenever, do I need to work on it now? Can it wait till tomorrow, or is there a space on Thursday or Friday that I can put it in and implement it? And that's when I'll just make the decision then. Because a lot of times I will go and just stop until I get sleepy. And I said I can't do that, because your body will eventually tell you need to stop.
Yeah, exactly. What do you recommend for people who are, you know, just everybody's home? I mean, there are some people who are out and about and some people who are traveling. And then there's some people who would like to travel or like to take a break, but they're nervous about the pandemic and nervous about being out among people. What do you recommend for people who just need to step away from the computer and step away from the work and the phone, to regenerate?
Well, I do recommend meditation and mindfulness. And, you know, people who don't want to go, like I have flown myself. I was very cautious about flying, but I've flown myself as long as I was masked up and I took the proper protocols. I was good. But if you want to do a staycation, that's good too. You know, you can always go somewhere. And if you want to just remove yourself from the environment itself, create a staycation, go to a nice hotel over the weekend and just have things set up for yourself. If you love strawberries, get yourself chocolate covered strawberries. Get chocolate covered strawberries and champagne or wine. Have a nice book or whatever it is that you would normally use to decompress. Have some meditation music or motivation music in the background, just to be away from that environment. Because sometimes you do need to just step away.
And I guess is the biggest challenge making people intentional about it, like really, when you talk about integrative wellness, making sure that they're, you know, intentional about the things that they're going to do that's going to ease some of this stress.
Yeah. And then I have to let them know that this is something that they have to be committed to. Like if you came to see me, then there is something going on. Or if you went to go see a professional, another mental health professional, there is something going on to where you said, I can't function like this anymore. I have to make some changes. So that's where you get committed. Once you come to see me and we're talking through and we're trying to figure out where you're trying to go, and I'm giving you some solutions and some remedies, it's incumbent on you to implement those. So by the time that I see you in the next session, I'm going to ask you, so what did you do? I'm going to ask you. Because I can be able to tell just by how you get on the, when you're talking and how you're interacting on our call, on our Zoom meeting, if you've even attempted to implement these on a regular basis. So if my suggestion to you is to meditate every morning when you first wake up before you start your day, I can tell by the time you get onto the second section or the next session with me, whether or not you've been doing that, because everything is going to shift. Your energy is going to shift if you're doing that. And I can look at you and tell that, no, you haven't been doing that consistently. And then I have to remind you that this is a commitment. Like nobody's going to be more in tune and feel like your mental health and your body and your health altogether is more important than you. So you have to take the steps to make sure you get there. And that it could even include nutrition, because I will talk about that also. That could even include you changing some things in your diet, like not eating processed food, not eating so much fried food, not eating so much sugar, because that can also impact your physical health as well, and your mental health. People don't know that.
Right. I was going to ask, are people often, because sometimes things like mindfulness and meditation, people just think that, yeah, no, I need something different. Like you say that and people are really quick to kind of brush those things off. I think that there's more evidence and there have been more studies that show that these things really work. But do you find that it's sometimes difficult to convince people that, yeah, like mindfulness, meditation, eating better are things that can cause great shifts in how they're functioning? And
yoga is very important. Like I will give the example to people when if you've never experienced yoga makes you move and contort your body in ways to where you have to be focused on where you're placing your limb. Like you have to be cognizant. You're placing your arm this way, your leg this way, you're twisting that way. And so you're not thinking about work or stress or anxiety at that point. You're just trying to figure out how to pose. So that is very helpful. And then you're connected spiritually with yoga. Everything is being connected at that moment. Not just that, but also, like certain supplements. I am huge on ashwagandha. I love ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is very helpful for people who are experiencing stress and anxiety. So I will tell them to do some research on it, even talk to their healthcare providers. I will educate them on it, but it's incumbent on them to take the steps towards their healing, because I can't do it for you. I can give you the tools to help you get there, but you have to incorporate those tools.
What are some of the responses when people actually do, as you say, take responsibility for the change? Like what, as someone who's helping them do that, I know it must be rewarding for you, but what's been some of the feedback that you've received?
I think for them, it would always be fulfillment. It's not just I'm happy that these things are taking place. I'm happy that I'm seeing some shifts, but it's like an empowerment. Like they are realizing, oh, these are things that I could have been doing to begin with. And I incorporate that because I let them know it's not just something that you do and it's just going to go away. You have to make sure that you're incorporating these regularly. And if you're trying to get out of your job, if you don't want to work there anymore, there are other things you can do. So we talk about plans. So it's not just more than just the exercise piece and the supplements piece. I'm actually doing coaching to help to figure out what's going on, get to the bottom of it. Like, for instance, when I was talking about bullying, my issue with bullying came from when I was bullied when I was younger. So we're trying to figure out what's going on with you at work, to figure out or connect anything that happened that was maybe traumatic in your childhood or something that you experienced in a marriage. So these things, that's when they realize, oh, okay, I didn't even realize that was connected. Now we're figuring out, okay, how can we move forward? Because you don't want to be consumed by this. You don't want to be bound by this stress and this anxiety, because this causes health issues. I mean, Absolutely. We're talking diabetes, high blood pressure. Like this can lead to other really detrimental ailments in your body. So now we want to try to do some reversing, incorporating more water, not in therapy, because I don't do therapy. There's a difference between therapy and coaching. Right. With the coaching piece is where I'm helping you to be empowered to start making decisions. And we're creating a plan together. Like you're networking with your people on LinkedIn. You're networking with your friends to reach out to them to see if they have any openings at their jobs that you will be applicable for. Even if you feel like you want to start a side business, we're talking about what are your strengths in your current position and in your corporate job that you can transition into your own business, your side hustle. And maybe that may even one day eventually create enough revenue to where you can leave the corporate piece alone. So we're going through everything about your life we are touching. So we can make sure that we're going through a full, I want to say a complete healing and relief process, but it's continuous. It's not just a one-time thing. Like for me, what I realized when I went through the IOP program, the therapy was a one-time thing. For me, the coaching is continuous. You are continuing to incorporate these habits into your life because what you were doing was habitual. Now you're changing it. And people just have to get used to the fact that it's not just a change, it's an evolvement. If you look at it that way, you're evolving yourself. And it's for the better.
What is, if you had to give 2 or 3 bits of advice to someone who is getting ready to either leave a job or to just really start this business that they've always wanted to start, what would that be?
I definitely would encourage, if you're going to start a business, to find a mentor. Find a mentor or a coach. For me, I had a coach at the beginning with the first part, but the mentor piece for me, I sought the Small Business Administration, and I found a mentor that way. But helping to understand exactly what it is that you're trying to focus on with your whatever the industry is that you're trying to create your own business, getting somebody on board who has gone through those trials and those challenges to save you some headaches and some money on the front end. So that's one. The second thing is to realize that whether you're going to look for another job or you're trying to start your own business, it does not happen like yesterday. It is a process, and you have to trust the process. Like when you are, and a lot of times, I don't know if people have noticed now, when you're interviewing, it used to be like an interview with human resources and then an interview with the hiring manager. Now you're interviewing like 5 or 6 different times with a whole bunch of people in the room. You're interviewing colleagues. You're interviewing with the person who's 2 steps above your manager. So like they're really doing an intense vetting process. And so you just have to realize you trust the process, come in prepared, and everything will work itself out, which is the third thing is, again, trusting the process, having faith that it will work itself out. If this did not work, if you went through a set of failures at the beginning, which I have done, failures at the beginning, whether it's in your own business or, you really saw an opportunity, you really wanted, you thought you were a great fit for it, and they called you back after interviewing for the 19th time, right. They're going to move on with another candidate. As long as you're continuing, sometimes that you need something to boost your motivation and your confidence, and even to feel like you're competent and adequate. Because at that point, if you've heard that so many times, you do start to feel a certain way about yourself. But having that resource, your friends or your family that you can count on and you can talk to about it, and they'll give you that boost of confidence, and get right back in there and continue on. And then in some cases, if you're noticing it's perpetual declines, or we're no longer, or we're going with another candidate, it's always a good idea to reach out to that headhunter or that a recruiter or somebody from that job, maybe in human resources. Ask them, was there something that I did that I can improve on? Because it might be something you're doing that everybody is noticing, and you don't even realize that that's what you're doing that's turning somebody off from hiring you. So then whatever they tell you, if they're willing to talk to you about it, then do some assessments to figure out how to adjust. But those are the 3 things I would say are more important. Don't let the failures, don't become depressed or just really have lose confidence in yourself because you're going through a set of failures, because everybody goes through failures before they get to the successes.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what can we expect next from Aria Craig?
Well, incorporating this piece, once I'm done with the education part, really incorporating the mediation piece. I haven't determined whether or not I wanted to go into the ombudsman part of it, which seems really interesting. So I might do that, but, and also finishing my book.
The 6th book. Yes.
Yes, my 6th book, which is a novel. That one is really good because it's a fictional piece based off of true events.
So that's a very different direction for you. So, because the other books were self-help, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And so now this is a novel.
This is a novel, but it's still centered around mental health, because this is about a mom and her 2 daughters, and one of her daughters is a narcissist. So there is a dysfunction in the dynamic of their relationships.
Wow. So we are looking forward to that. Tell our listeners how we can find you, how we can stay connected to you.
You can visit me on my website, ariacraig.com, and also have a wealth of information there, including my IG lives that I do on Monday, as I have them posted there as well. And then you can also email me at aria@ariacraig.com.
And your social media handles?
I'm very active on Instagram. So my my Instagram handle is aria.craig. I become more active on LinkedIn, which is my LinkedIn account is Aria Craig. And then there is Twitter, Aria_Craig. and Facebook, author Aria Craig.
Okay. All righty. So we look forward to this novel and all of the new aspects of your business that you'll be developing and sharing your expertise and your experiences with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Business First is hosted and produced by Sonia Aline. Associate producer, Lauren Turner. Edited by Ken Johnson. Executive producers, Omar Thompson, Andrew Kalb, and Ken Johnson. Find the Business First podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Business First podcast is a Mean Old Lion Media and Say It Loud Network production.